What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to the Crypto Catch Up. Of course, your number one place to catch up on crypto. Now, we got some big news today, some things that I want to talk about. Something's happening from a fundamental perspective that people aren't recognizing yet, and we're going to cover all of that today. So let's get straight into it. Let's catch up on crypto. Now, we got one big piece of news today that I want to cover, and I want to focus more specifically on this one for the news portion of today's vid because I do think it's just that important. So what we got today was that Russia has now finally legalized Bitcoin mining. Now, I do want to add a preface that it doesn't really matter in this situation how you feel about Russia, whether you agree what's been happening, disagree with what's been happening. None of that is applicable to what we're talking about here. We're solely talking about the fact that them doing this is a fantastic thing for the world of crypto for a couple of different reasons, of which I'm about to explain. Now, with that out the way, the first thing that I want to talk about is just the pure raw size of this news. Okay, so a couple key pieces of information. Russia's economy is currently the 11th largest in terms of nominal GDP and the 4th largest in purchasing power parity. This means realistically that Russia is a top 10 country, and that's just pure economics, okay? We're not talking about power, we're not talking about military, we're not talking about any of those things. Purely their economy. Now, why is that so important? Well, whenever you break this down, obviously you have to start to think about how this could impact the supply and demand curve that we're seeing right now. What we've been talking about a lot on this channel just so consistently is the fact that we are seeing the supply getting eaten up at a rate faster than it is being produced. We are seeing people take supply from, the Bitcoin supply from exchanges, from different providers, service providers, whoever it may be, at a rate in which is not sustainable. And eventually there will be a point in time in which the amount of Bitcoin available is going to be less than the Bitcoin that is needed. And when that time does come, it's destiny that a supply shock will happen. It's destiny. And in a moment like this, what you have to consider is the weight in which this can impact that disparity between the demand and the supply. Because if a country like Russia goes on, this isn't the ending of this. This is just the beginning of this. When a country of this size starts to allow Bitcoin mining, it typically will start a domino effect in which they will start to see the results. They will start to see the reward. They will start to truly, from more of an internal perspective, understand the value that Bitcoin and crypto can bring to them, provide to their country and their, just their economy in general. And oftentimes what we have seen throughout history is that legalizing mining is the first step. And the next thing you know, they start to really implement a bunch of different things, whether it's tax benefits, tax breaks for companies to invest and buy in Bitcoin. You start to really see them implement crypto within not only just their legislation, but also from a corporate level as well, below obviously the top side, the countryside, right? And so because of that, whenever I look at this, I start to consider this is going to speed things up. This is going to push this car in a faster direction of running into the wall of a supply shock. And I do believe that if we can get there as fast as possible, we should get there as fast as possible. Because quite frankly, guys, whenever you look at all of this combined, right, everything is important. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, Michael Saylor and them scooping up Bitcoin is very important, and people using Bitcoin and being able to use it in, third world countries. All of these things are extremely important, and I'm not taking away from that. But realistically, the number one most important thing, if you want to see Bitcoin's price hit $300,000 one day or $400,000 one day, is Bitcoin supply being eaten up to a point in which there's not enough to, serve the people who need it. Because all of these major powers are going to become, they're going to start fighting over it to some degree. I do truly believe that. There will be a point in time in which they just cannot get their hands on enough Bitcoin that they need to serve their clients or serve themselves. And when that time comes, whether it's between, major companies like Microsoft and MicroStrategy one day, or whether it's between the US and Russia and China, or whoever it may be, we're going to see them really, really have to start pushing back and forth, which does start to grow the price. It has to. Whenever you see people arguing over something because they want it so bad, the value of that thing goes up. You cannot argue that. And so because of that, pushing us in a direction of the supply shock happening sooner and sooner and sooner is great news. And this is exactly what that signals. We're going to get closer and closer and closer, because what they're going to start doing is implementing things that are going to start opening doors for crypto to become much more of a popular thing in Russia. And just mark my words, we're going to see different Russian companies and different governmental bodies and things like that entering into the world of crypto. Mark my words, watch what happens. Now, another thing that you need to think about, right? Another thing that you need to think about is a lot of people have been looking at what's happening to the dollar, getting a little bit concerned about the dollar and looking for alternatives. Now, one of the alternatives is BRICS. Now, feel how you may about it. It doesn't seem like this is a right now thing that it's going to be, actually work, but in the future is possible. And of course, BRICS does stand for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and I think it's South America, or South Africa, sorry, if I remember correctly. Now, they want to develop a currency to basically overthrow the dollar. Now, as a result of that, people in the crypto world haven't been big fans of that. They're like, oh shit, no, like we want crypto to be the alternative for the dollar, not a whole nother currency. Now, is crypto going to replace the dollar? I don't think so, personally speaking. But it is interesting to see that, of course, people were looking at another alternative like BRICS and thinking, I don't like that, because again, it's just another alternative outside the dollar, whatever. Now, the reason why I am, in favor of what is happening right now with Russia is because it just goes to show that even if the day does come far into the future where BRICS does replace the US dollar as the national reserve and the national exchange currency, right? If that time does come, the countries that are behind BRICS are now entering into the world of crypto. So it's not like crypto is going to be completely cut out. And so a lot of those people who are kind of against BRICS, you're starting to notice them on Twitter, starting to be like, well, maybe this isn't all too bad. And it's starting to start a cycle in which there is opportunities for even more adoption and bullishness later down the line as well. So these are just a couple of thoughts that I've had that I've not seen people really talking about, in the sense that I think this is bigger news than people realize. And if you can continue in this direction, I do believe the domino effect is going to start in Russia and many of its neighboring countries, in which we do start to see them implementing and injecting crypto, Web3, Bitcoin, all the keywords, into their economy and into their different legislations and things like that. So I think that's great. Now, from a fundamental perspective, as a result of this news, we are seeing something very interesting happening. Now, what that is, let's go ahead and get this turned on. Sorry, I'm just going to show you my computer real quick. Now, what that is, and you're not going to be able to see it super good, but hopefully you can see it enough, is that currently speaking, liquidations have now shot up to the upside above Bitcoin's price. And look, let me try to get that a little bit higher. So this is Bitcoin's price right here. These are the liquidations above it. And you can quite clearly see that we've now seen liquidations above Bitcoin's price shoot up. Now, you may think, well, that's actually a bad thing, right? That's people shorting the market, shorting this thing, expecting it to go down. Therefore, they'll be liquidated if the market goes up. And you're absolutely correct. They don't know this is good news, but we know it's good news. Because oftentimes, whenever liquidations to the upside go up, people are starting to not recognize the true weight or impact of something, right? They just think, oh, the market's going to fall because the market's been falling. They're being emotional, whatever. But what they don't realize is that when there are liquidations to the upside, when there are people who think the market's going to go down, that's the time where the market's the most likely to go up. And so you all know the market is the most likely to move in the direction in which there are the most liquidations, because the lizard people want to take your crypto from you. And so because of that, in a moment like this where we are getting good news, we're starting to see things transpire. We're seeing BlackRock and Michael Saylor and all these people starting to strategize and implement crypto, and liquidations are building to the upside. It tells us that they don't recognize the weight, the intrinsic value that's being added to crypto right now that will typically be reflected by the price moving upwards eventually. And so knowing that and seeing that liquidations are building above us, I'm like, oh shit, this is a great combination. People are shorting because they think the market's going to go down, but all this great news is coming out and they're not even recognizing it. And so, sure, I think that obviously buying now and going long now still could be a little bit risky, because we do have the presidential election coming up, which is going to have a huge impact on the market. But quite frankly, if we do see that thing go somewhat decently, I think we're in a spot where this market can really continue to pick up to the upside, liquidate a ton of those shorts, and really start to smash in. So overall, I think this is great news. I'm very happy with what we're seeing. And let me know down in the comments below, how do you feel about everything going on with Russia right now whenever it comes to them legalizing Bitcoin mining and all that? Do you think that it's just a ploy, just marketing, trying to get their name in the hat, or do you actually think they're recognizing the value and starting to try to go in? So let me know down in the comments below. What are your thoughts there? I'd love to hear it there. And of course, I hope you guys did enjoy today's quick little catch-up session. Peace out, everybody.